Okay, we're here for another spray sealing video, and we're starting off with this piece right here. It was a scene that I did for a lesson, not too long ago, and it has really dried dull, okay? Now, it hasn't faded, but it's dried dull, and I say it hasn't faded because we can spray seal these, and I'll be using the Krylon UV-Resistant clear. There's many different types of spray sealants that you can use. I don't know, the real basic one that some people just make do with, and which I've done before, is hairspray, and we've done that in classes. When I've taught this in schools before, we've spray sealed some various artwork with just simple hairspray, but an art spray would probably be the most appropriate for paper crafters, and there's various brands out there including workable fixatives. Okay, let's start off with this one right here. This one was a really saturated, beautiful piece when freshly stamped and wet. Let me do the left-hand side of it first so you can see the transformation taking place. These are, for the most part, dye-based inks on glossy cardstock, okay? There's some pigment ink in here as well as some gel pen work, but like by and large, dye on glossy, okay? Alright, so when we spray these, we'll want to spray about 8 inches to about 12 inches away. Standard spray paint kind of process, okay? Start off your page and go on. You don't want to get a big puddle of it right here, so you don't want to start on it and move. So I'm going to be starting kind of off and shoot it in bursts. Okay, left-hand side. You can see that transformation almost immediately, right? And that's very indicative of a kind of a freshly stamped wet scene, okay? Now this kind of dulling process does not happen with all inks, and it has a lot to do with certain types of ink and paper combinations. But I find that, by and large, Marvy inks don't really fade out like that, but when you blend them with other types of inks, or if you just use other brands of inks alone, they often dry in this kind of dull sheen, okay? But it's just this kind of frost on top of it, but you can penetrate it, and once you spray it, it'll stay that given saturation from then on. You don't need to spray it again. It won't kind of dull out again in appearance. Okay, but anyways, let me get on over to this other side. You can see that saturation is quite extreme. You can see really the depth of color, and dye-based inks are transparent, so you can really see all of the sub-layers of colors that have been applied when you kind of reinvigorate that depth of saturation and layering of inks that have taken place. You can see our previous videos, and you can see how that scene has been done, but not too bad. Let's see, I'm going to stop the video right here, as I want to do a before and after picture of this scene. Okay, that is that one. I don't have too many to spray, but see now that one, I really love that color scheme. Really dulled out on me. I thought, it's time to do a video on that. Okay, this one right here has really dulled out as well. This one right here, the values didn't get as extreme as the previous one. I didn't add quite as many layers of ink, but it has really dried dull on this one. So let's take a look at this one. Let's go with the left and right side process again. Okay. You can see just up there in the corner compared to that side. Look at that in the water. Okay, let's hit the whole thing. Okay, and that looks pretty good. Oh, I don't know how long this will take to dry. Okay, now this one didn't dull quite as extreme as the other ones, because this one's, by and large, it's Marvy inks on this one. I did this at a convention demonstration. Okay, see that? But the intensity does, I don't know, it gets bumped up, I would say, a good 5 to 10% though. So if you have some kind of just general medium that can do that to all of your inks, it's really of quite a benefit. You know, we all have so many different so much different media and pens and numerous ink pads and whatever, you know, so that for the cost of like one stamp pad and maybe a re-ink or something like that, if you can get one thing like this and just improve potentially the look of all of your other media, you know, that's quite a formidable medium to have in your, or tool or whatever, to have in your, you know, your list of supplies. And this isn't just for glossy cardstock, of course. This is a glossy acrylic coating, but there's matte ones as well. And there's workable fixatives too, so if you're working in something like pastels or chalks or something like that, maybe a workable fixative would be more appropriate, but those are also sealants, okay? All right, this one right here has this little frosty part in here with some pigment ink, white pigment ink, so maybe I'll just spray around it, because just like some soft media like pastels and chalks, if you spray it, the lighter things often get much darker. So, oh boy, some noise in the background, someone doing some work. I don't do that too long. See that? Look at that beautiful glow there. So even just with the Marvy inks, now see, this one right here is quite saturated as well. It's not really dulled out too much, but let's take a look here. I can definitely see the intensity on that side right there, so it's quite a bit better. I think a real simple composition right here was I think it was just a quick convention demo at a couple recent shows I attended. Now this one right here has a lot of pigment ink, and it also has the VersaFine, which is a black pigment ink, but the white pigment ink is also in there. So I have to be a little bit careful about the spraying of this one, but let's look at the intensity of the colors that come about from the spraying of the background, okay? So right there, in comparison to that, I can even see some overspray going over there, and where it's like little dots of it have hit there, it is it's really brought back then a nice saturation of all those violet tones. This is the perfect day to spray right now. I don't have too much wind. Well, there's no breeze or wind out. It's nice and overcast, so that's a good time to do this type of thing. Alright, so I said I had to be careful about that, because sometimes the pigment ink can kind of run if you spray it too heavily. I don't know, I expected that to run a little bit, but it didn't. Maybe it's because I allowed it to set. It's been a couple weeks since I did that scene, so. Alright, a nice sunset scene here. Let's go a little bit top to bottom on this one. See that saturation there? Let's take a look at the bottom now. I can see it that glare, but that scene right now is just really glowing. That saturation brought back. So it's really fun. It's fun kind of doing this too. It's fun watching that transformation and kind of the reclaiming. Okay, now this is just a matte paper. It's a dark cardstock. Dark, I don't know, what is it? Darker, it's not quite navy blue, but this is one that it would probably be better to spray with a matte spray, but I don't have a matte spray. So I'm not really doing something on this to really bring out any kind of saturation, because it's just stamped in black ink and white. But I want to spray it over just to protect the Dr. Martin's bleed-proof white splatter painting on here, and also some of that pigment ink, okay? Okay, now that did darken it quite a bit. So like I said, a workable fixative might have been better, but I don't know, it looks okay though. It brought back, or it introduced more contrast between each one of these little splatter paints, dots in there. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if I've sprayed one of my matte ones before. Okay, this one is just sitting on my desk. I don't even remember when I did this one. Not too much of a transformation, but I'd say, I don't know, probably somewhere between 4 and 6%. Yeah, I don't know, saturation increase, intensity increase. All right, this is a scene that I just did very recently, maybe about a week ago. That has a lot of that pigment ink in there and gel pen work and whatnot. I don't know, sometimes the frosted look looks, you know, it's kind of part of the scene. I wanted it to be a real frosty type of scene, so I don't know if this is going to improve it or not, you know, because we might want that kind of dull, very faint pigment ink work in there. But let's take a look anyways while we're at it. Maybe I'll just hit it very lightly, okay? So maybe I can have the benefit of the dark blue saturation, so maybe I won't spray in here where I've applied a lot of that white pigment ink over the top of it in kind of a foggy type of look, okay? If I hit it too strong, I'll lose all the fog. And I'm not really quite sure if I can go over this spray and have it kind of remain if I re-applied some of that pigment ink, because it would be so slick and sealed, you know, due to the composition of this medium here. Alright, here's a big one right here. This one is just kind of playing around and having some fun with a monochromatic grayscale composition. And I also wanted to play around with those island mountain stamps in there. So let me make a little bit of space in here. Okay, there we go. Okay, I can see quite a bit of that darker color coming out, especially on the edges where I've applied a lot of that ink. So again, just some short bursts. I wanted that scene to look kind of like a, I don't know, otherworldly type of thing. Alright, so that one right there benefited from it, but I would say maybe the slightest transformation, because the value of this one, besides the actual impressions of the stamps, it didn't get very dark to begin with, so, and it didn't have, you know, several layers of colors layered over the top of it. It was just grayscale and black, so gray and black ink. But still, you know, it does seal it and protect it from, I don't know, handling, I guess, and the UV would protect it a little bit from sun exposure, but I generally wouldn't recommend putting anything on display that you really want to remain nice and saturated and whatnot if you want to put something on display. And if it's going to be up for a long time, I mean, you can always switch out the scene. And if you have something framed, you know, you get tired of it over time, you know, just switch it out with a new one. But by and large, if you want to have something kind of on a more permanent basis, I'd recommend printing something like that out. You know, you can take a photograph of it and have it printed out at, you know, 24-hour photo place or something like that. Or you can, if you have a home inkjet printer, you can print it out at home and display those prints as opposed to the originals. So, up to you, though. Alright, anyways, that's it on the Krylon UV-Resistant clear. And, let's see. Hope that comes in handy for those that may have been doing similar types of processes with your medium out there, or your media. And if it's dried dull in you, maybe give it a shot with some of the various sprays out there. And if you're not sure if you'd like to do that or not, if you have some hairspray around, probably an aerosol one, not like a pump one or something like that, maybe give that a shot and see if it works. Alright, so anyways, thanks for watching the video, and thanks as always for tuning into the channel.